We can now bring in our international affairs editor, Angela Diffley. Angela, you're going to talk us through how Gulf states have been reacting, because right from the get-go, right from the first few hours of those Israeli and U.S. strikes on the Islamic Republic, we had Iran hitting out two Gulf states within hours.
Yeah, maybe talk a little about Hormuz first and how that, its reopening is going to affect things, because there is stuff in the MOU about that. Notably, today, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Araghchi, spoke to the Foreign Minister of Kuwait. Kuwait and Qatar are two of the Gulf countries that were most hit by the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. Some of the other countries, notably Saudi Arabia, UAE, were able to bypass quite a lot and get quite a lot of their exports and imports in and out, or at least partially. Kuwait, Qatar, not so. There is wording in the MOU talking about suggesting at a later stage, at the end of the 60 days or during the 60 days, again, unclear, that Iran will work with Oman, which is on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz, and other Gulf countries on a broad agreement on the management of Hormuz. You know, that is interesting, unclear. Nobody quite knows what it means. The reality is that Iran is the country that can have a chokehold on it, and so Iran will have the final say in any negotiations over what might happen to Hormuz. And it looks very much as though the Gulf states are resigning themselves to the fact that they will probably have to pay some kind of toll in the future. That, of course, was not the state before this war. And Saudi Arabia was less affected because it was able to get a pipeline across to the Red Sea port of Yanbu and get some of its stuff in and out, UAE as well. But they will be pleased that at least Hormuz is reopening and that they can resume exports and imports. But Iran remains in control of Hormuz.
So what has changed for Gulf states since this war broke out?
Yeah, you talked about there how they've been targeted, and how Donald Trump said breezily, oh, we never thought they'd do that. This is after them saying...
This is exactly what we'll do. Yeah.
Exactly. And also after these Gulf states paying enormous amounts of money for U.S. protection. And they would have thought perhaps some strategic thinking involved in that as well. So they have, from the beginning, we've been saying, their business model, their attractivity around the world rested upon those countries, particularly the United Arab Emirates, exactly being a safe haven, a place where international business people felt they could do business, low regulation, light taxes. Absolutely. It was a very attractive destination. And suddenly Iran gets to keep a significant number of its ballistic missiles. It is still there across the water. And so their whole business model is under threat. They will be wondering if those people who left, because a large number of people did leave, are going to come back, whether countries will feel enough faith in the situation to invest still in those Gulf states. They aren't all looking in the same direction. They're all thinking about diversifying, which is something they were all doing before anyway, very much in AI. Defense. It is likely that some of these agreements with the United States, with Trump proving to be such an unreliable ally, that they might try to upgrade them into a sort of treaty status under which they would be not so easily overturned or disregarded. Equally, they are investing in anti-drone defense, largely with help from Ukraine. And they are also thinking about how, for example, they can store their oil in other places around the world. They're looking at taking stakes in oil storage facilities abroad in other parts of the world so that they are not entirely dependent either on the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's behavior or on the United States for defense. United Arab Emirates very recently signed a defense agreement with France. It's all about diversifying both economically and in terms of defense and building their own defense and other industries.